Dr. Elaine Morgan stared at her computer screen as strange patterns of light appeared again. For 3 weeks, these unusual radiation signals had been coming from a distant star system. She rubbed her tired eyes and reached for her coffee mug, only to find it empty. Another late night, Elaine. Dr. Richard Hayes walked in with 2 fresh cups of coffee and handed one to her. "Look at this, Richard." She pointed to her screen. "The signals are getting stronger and more regular. This isn't random space noise." Richard set his coffee down and leaned closer to the monitor. The patterns pulsed with an unmistakable rhythm. "You're right. That's not natural. I think someone is trying to talk to us," Elaine said quietly. The Global Space Agency building was nearly empty at this late hour. Most scientists had gone home, but Elaine couldn't tear herself away from these signals. Something about them felt urgent. 3 days later, Elaine called an emergency meeting. She stood before her colleagues, her hands shaking slightly as she prepared to show them her findings. "The signals contain a message," she began. "After running them through every decoding program we have, we found patterns that match mathematical sequences. Then we found this." She pressed a button, and an image appeared on the large screen. It showed star systems, movement patterns, and symbols that looked like warnings. "We believe this is a message about a species called the Harvari," Elaine explained. "According to what we've decoded, they hunt and destroy intelligent life throughout the galaxy." The room filled with murmurs and skeptical looks. "Dr. Morgan," said the agency director, "are you suggesting we received an alien warning about other aliens?" "Yes, sir. And the warning is specific: high technology signals or face extinction." Most of her colleagues laughed or shook their heads. Only Richard and Jack Rivera, their communications specialist, seemed to take her seriously. After the meeting, Jack approached her. "I believe you, Dr. Morgan. Those patterns were too precise to be natural." "Thank you, Jack. Can you help me decode more of the message?" Jack nodded. "I'll start right away. There must be more information we can extract." Over the next few weeks, the 3 of them worked around the clock. Most of the scientific community dismissed their findings as a misunderstanding or even a hoax. Online forums mocked Morgan's aliens, and news outlets ran stories questioning her mental state. Then the second message arrived. Jack burst into Elaine's office one morning, his face pale. "You need to see this now." The new transmission contained mathematical proofs too complex to be coincidental. More alarmingly, it included a star chart with Earth's exact location marked. "They know where we are," Richard whispered. "And whoever sent this warning knows the Harvari know about us too," Elaine added. The 3 of them took their new findings to the agency director. This time, he listened more carefully. "Even if this is real," he said finally, "what are we supposed to do? Shut down all our satellites, stop all radio communications, return to the Dark Ages?" "We need to at least reduce our technological signature in space," Elaine insisted. "The warnings are clear. The Harvari see technological advancement as competition. They eliminate potential rivals." The director sighed. "I'll take this to the World Security Council, but don't expect much. People won't give up their technology based on some mysterious space message." As Elaine left the building that evening, she looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, a dangerous species might already be heading toward Earth. And somewhere else, allies were trying to help them survive. "The warnings are clear," she whispered to herself. But will anyone listen? 6 months passed since the first warning signals. Snow fell outside the United Nations building in New York as world leaders gathered to discuss the potential alien threat. Inside, the room was divided into clear factions. Admiral Frank Miller stood at the front of the room, his uniform crisp and his voice firm. "We must build space defenses now," he said, pointing to diagrams of weapon systems. "If these Harvari are real, we can't face them with what we have today." Several military leaders nodded in agreement, but Susan Powell, the diplomatic envoy representing a coalition of smaller nations, shook her head. "We should try to talk first," she argued. "What if these warnings are a test? What if the Harvari are judging how we respond? Violence might be exactly what triggers them to attack. The debate continued for hours. Dr. Elaine Morgan sat quietly in the back row, watching as people argued about messages they hadn't even fully decoded yet. Jack Rivera sat beside her, taking notes on his tablet. "They're missing the point," he whispered to Elaine. The warnings were specific. "Hide our technology. Don't broadcast our presence." Before Elaine could respond, Peter Grant walked into the room. The CEO of Stellar Industries moved with confidence, his expensive suit and perfect smile drawing all eyes to him. He waited for the room to quiet before speaking. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "I've heard enough fear for one day. These supposed warnings are nothing but noise from space that some scientists have misinterpreted." He looked directly at Elaine as he said this. She felt her face grow hot with anger. "Stellar Industries has studied these signals too," Grant continued. "Our experts believe they're likely natural phenomena, or possibly signals from a competitor trying to slow Earth's progress into space." Admiral Miller frowned. "Mr. Grant, the evidence suggests." "The evidence suggests nothing concrete," Grant interrupted. "Meanwhile, my company is making real progress. Our deep space research beacons will help us understand the universe better than ever before." What Grant didn't say was that these beacons sent powerful signals into space, essentially announcing Earth's technological capabilities to anyone listening. Exactly what the warnings had cautioned against. After the meeting, Elaine confronted Grant in the hallway. "Your beacons are putting Earth at risk," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "If the Harvari are real." "If, Dr. Morgan. That's a very big if." Grant smiled coldly. "My company employs thousands of people and advances human knowledge. Should I shut all that down because of some questionable space signals?" "You're gambling with the entire planet," Elaine said. Grant leaned closer. "No, I'm advancing it. Someone has to lead us forward, not backward into hiding." He walked away, already on his phone with an investor. That evening, Elaine, Richard, and Jack gathered in their lab. On the screens around them, new warning signals continued to arrive, increasingly urgent in their pattern. "Grant has too much influence," Richard said. "3 government officials called today to question our funding." Jack nodded grimly. "And Stellar just launched 2 more beacons yesterday, bigger and stronger than before." Elaine stared at the latest decoded message. The warnings now included images that looked like ships, large, predatory vessels moving through space toward specific targets. "We need proof they can't ignore," she said finally. "Something even Grant can't dismiss." Outside the lab window, one of Stellar Industries' launch pads lit up the night sky as another communication beacon blasted into space. Its powerful signal raced outward, announcing humanity's presence to the stars and to whatever might be listening. Lieutenant Kate Donovan checked her flight systems one more time. The Sentinel was the most advanced spacecraft humans had ever built, designed to patrol the edges of the solar system. Kate had been flying for 12 years, but nothing had prepared her for this mission. "All systems are green," she reported. "Ready for launch." "Good luck up there, Lieutenant," came the voice of Alan Reeves, the AI specialist who had helped design the ship's computer systems. "Remember, we need data, not heroics." Kate smiled. "Understood, though I'm hoping for a quiet patrol." The Sentinel lifted off smoothly, accelerating faster than any previous vessel. Within hours, Kate was beyond the moon, heading toward the outer planets. Her mission was simple but critical: look for any sign of the Harvari. For 3 days, she found nothing unusual. She sent regular reports back to Earth and ran the detection programs Alan had created based on the alien warning signals. Space seemed peaceful and empty. On the 4th day, something changed. "Control, I'm picking up an object entering the solar system," Kate reported, her heart racing. "It's small, maybe probe-sized, but moving at impossible speeds." "Can you get visual confirmation?" Alan asked. "Trying now." Kate adjusted her sensors. The object appeared on her screen, smooth, dark, and definitely not natural. It's artificial, definitely not one of ours. Stay at a safe distance and gather data, ordered Admiral Miller, who had joined the conversation. Do not engage. Kate followed orders, tracking the object as it moved through the outer solar system. Then suddenly, it changed course. Toward her. Control, it spotted me, Kate said, trying to keep her voice calm. It's changing direction, heading straight for the Sentinel. Evasive maneuvers, Miller commanded. Do not let it make contact. Kate fired the engines and twisted the ship away, but the alien probe adjusted instantly. It was faster, more agile than her ship, but Kate hadn't become a lieutenant by giving up easily. She dove toward Saturn's rings, using the ice and rock debris as cover. The probe followed, weaving through the obstacles with unnatural precision. Kate waited until the last second, then cut engines and rotated the ship, letting momentum carry her while she activated all sensors to gather data on the pursuing object. The probe passed within meters of the Sentinel, close enough for Kate to see its surface ripple and shift. Then it circled back, scanning her ship thoroughly before suddenly accelerating away at impossible speed. I think it got what it came for, Kate reported, her hands still shaking. It was studying us. 2 days later, Kate docked at Earth Station 1, carrying valuable data about the alien technology. Alan Reeves was waiting for her, along with Dr. Elaine Morgan and Admiral Miller. You did well, Lieutenant, Miller said. The data you collected is our first real proof. Elaine nodded excitedly. The probe matches descriptions from the warning messages. This confirms everything we've been saying. But their victory was short-lived. That evening, Peter Grant's media network broadcast a special report. Military fabricates alien encounter to secure funding. The report claimed the Sentinel's encounter was staged using experimental Earth technology to justify Admiral Miller's defense program. It featured interviews with experts who questioned the data and raised doubts about Kate's testimony. They're calling me a liar, Kate said in disbelief as they watched the broadcast. Ellen put a hand on her shoulder. Grant's afraid. Your evidence threatens his company's plans. Admiral Miller turned off the screen. We know the truth. And now we know for certain. They're watching us. The question is, how much time do we have left? Outside, in the darkness of space, more small objects began entering the solar system, invisible to all but the most sensitive detection equipment. The scouts had arrived. Within weeks, more alien scout ships were spotted throughout the solar system. They appeared near Mars, Jupiter's moons, and even in Earth's orbit. The evidence became too strong to ignore or dismiss. UN Secretary General Maria Ortiz called an emergency global meeting. Leaders from every nation gathered as screens showed tracking data of the alien vessels. We can no longer deny the reality of this situation, she announced. The warnings we received were real. The Harvari exist, and they have found us. Admiral Miller presented Kate Donovan's data alongside new findings from other military encounters. The pattern was clear. The scouts were mapping Earth's defenses and studying human technology. We must establish a unified planetary defense system immediately, he urged. Every nation must contribute resources and personnel. For once, the world's leaders agreed. Even Peter Grant, sitting in the front row, nodded along. The fear of extinction proved stronger than political differences. After the meeting, Grant approached Elaine Morgan in the hallway. It seems I may have been hasty in my assessment, Doctor, he said with a tight smile. Stellar Industries will fully support the defense effort. Elaine studied his face. And your deep space communication projects will be paused, of course, Grant assured her. We're all on the same team now. But his eyes didn't match his words. Later that day, Elaine discovered that while Grant had publicly announced the shutdown of his space beacon program, some of his facilities remained active. He's still broadcasting, she told Richard and Jack as they gathered in their lab. Just more secretly now. Jack shook his head in disbelief. Even with proof all around us, he won't stop. Elaine turned to her computer, where new warning messages continued to arrive. With better decoding programs, they could now understand more of the alien communication. According to these messages, the Harveri see technological development as a competition, she explained. They believe advanced civilizations will eventually become threats, so they eliminate them before that can happen. Richard leaned closer to read the screen. It says some civilizations survived by hiding their technology. Elaine nodded. Those who masked their signatures and appeared primitive were passed over. The Harveri only harvest worlds that reach a certain technological threshold. And thanks to Grant and others like him, we've been broadcasting our location and capabilities for decades, Jack said bitterly. The next morning, Elaine presented their findings to the World Security Council. The room fell silent as she explained what they faced. The Harveri don't just destroy competitors, she said. They harvest resources and knowledge. They take everything of value before moving on. Peter Grant stood up from his seat. This sounds like more fear-mongering, Dr. Morgan. Yes, there are alien scouts in our system, but we don't know their intentions. We have their own communications explaining their intentions, Elaine countered. Translations that could be wrong, Grant argued. We should focus on defense and communication, not hiding in fear. Several council members nodded, swayed by Grant's confidence. The meeting ended with increased funding for defense systems, but no agreement on reducing Earth's technological footprint. What no one knew was that Peter Grant had already begun construction on a massive underground bunker system. Deep beneath his main corporate building, workers built living quarters, food storage, and independent power systems. The bunker was designed to house 500 people, carefully selected scientists, engineers, and others Grant deemed valuable. Your job is to protect humanity's future, he told his private security team. Not everyone can be saved, but the best minds must survive. As Grant planned for his own survival, the first large Harveri ship approached the edge of the solar system, its massive form still undetected by Earth's primitive scanning technology. The alarms sounded at 3:27 in the morning. Across the globe, military bases went on high alert as sensors detected a massive object appearing near Jupiter. Unlike the smaller scout ships, this was huge, a battleship that seemed to tear its way into normal space through some kind of spatial distortion. Admiral Miller was awakened from sleep and rushed to the command center. "Get me visual," he ordered, his voice steady despite the fear he felt inside. The screen showed a dark, angular ship larger than any vessel humans had ever built. Its surface rippled with strange energy patterns, and smaller craft moved around it like insects around a hive. "Launch the defense fleet," Miller commanded. "All ships to battle stations." Earth's hastily assembled space forces, built over the past few months, prepared for their first real test. The flagship Defiance led the way, with Admiral Miller on board directing operations. Lieutenant Kate Donovan climbed into her fighter craft. Thanks to her encounter with the scout ship, she had helped engineers design these new fighters with technology based on what they had learned from the alien probe. "All pilots, form up," she said into her radio. "Remember your training and stay with your wingmen." Earth's fleet approached Jupiter, tiny compared to the massive alien vessel. Some crew members prayed, others remained silent, all knowing they might be humanity's last hope. The Harveri ship fired first energy beams that cut through space toward the human vessels. Most ships dodged, but two were hit and exploded instantly. "Evasive patterns," ordered Admiral Miller. "Return fire when in range." Earth's ships responded with missiles and energy weapons. Most had little effect, but a few struck vulnerable points, causing visible damage to the alien ship. Kate led her squadron through a daring attack run, targeting what appeared to be sensor arrays on the Harveri vessel. Their weapons connected, and part of the ship's surface crumbled. "We heard it," someone shouted over the radio. A brief cheer went through the fleet. The aliens weren't invincible after all. But the celebration ended quickly. Space itself seemed to tear open in dozens of places around the solar system. From each rift emerged more HFY ships, dozens, then hundreds of them. They were waiting to see our capabilities. Miller realized too late. The first ship was just testing our defenses. Back on Earth, Jack Rivera monitored all communications from his station at the Global Space Agency. He picked up strange signals between the alien ships. Dr. Morgan, he called to Elaine, who was working nearby. I'm intercepting their transmissions. The translation program is working. They listened together as the alien communications became clearer. The HFY were discussing Earth's digital knowledge and biological diversity. They seemed particularly interested in humanity's technology databases and genetic information. They're cataloging what they want to take, Elaine whispered. One transmission stood out from the others. A HFY commander noted humanity's resistance with mild surprise, but didn't seem concerned. Standard harvesting procedures will continue, the alien stated. This species has advanced weapons, but nothing we haven't seen before. As the main battle continued near Jupiter, smaller HFY ships began moving toward Earth. Defense satellites fired automatically, destroying a few alien vessels, but barely slowing their advance. In cities around the world, people gathered around screens showing news of the battle. Some fled to the countryside, others prayed in churches and temples. Many simply held their loved ones close. In his underground bunker, Peter Grant watched the incoming data with growing alarm. Speed up the final preparations, he ordered his staff. We may need to seal the doors sooner than planned. Above Earth, the invasion force grew larger by the minute. The warnings had been right all along. The harvesters had come, and humanity stood on the edge of extinction. Admiral Miller watched as another human ship exploded. The HFY were methodically destroying Earth's outer defenses. His fleet had fought bravely, but they were outmatched in every way. Sir, we need to retreat and regroup closer to Earth, his second-in-command suggested. Miller nodded grimly. Send the order. All ships fall back to lunar orbit. As Earth's remaining vessels pulled back, Peter Grant activated his private communication array deep within his corporate headquarters. Unlike the military channels being monitored by both sides, this system used technology even newer than Earth's defense fleet. This is Peter Grant, CEO of Stellar Industries, attempting contact with HFY Command. He transmitted, I propose a private discussion regarding Earth's resources. For several minutes there was no response. Then a strange signal came through, followed by words in broken English. We receive. Purpose of communication. Grant smiled. I can offer you Earth's scientific databases and the locations of all military installations. In exchange, I ask for safe passage for myself and selected personnel. What offer beyond what we will take? The alien voice responded. Efficiency, Grant replied. I can give you everything without resistance. No need to waste time searching or fighting for what you want. At the Global Space Agency, Alan Reeves monitored all transmissions, trying to track HFY communications. His system suddenly flagged an unusual signal coming from within Earth. That's strange, he muttered, focusing on the signal. Someone's broadcasting to the HFY ships. As he decoded the transmission, his face paled. No, it can't be. He rushed to find Admiral Miller, who had just returned from the battle. Sir, you need to see this immediately. Miller read the transcript of Grant's communication and slammed his fist on the table. The bastard is selling us out, trying to save himself by giving them everything. He immediately ordered Grant's arrest, but security teams reported the CEO's building was locked down with advanced defense systems. We can't get in without a full military assault, the team leader reported. And he's not alone. There are hundreds of people inside. Miller turned to Alan. Can you block his transmission? I'm trying, but his technology is cutting edge. He's likely been planning this for months. The damage was already done. The HFY now possessed a complete map of Earth's remaining defenses and major population centers. They also knew exactly what technology and resources humans had access to. Susan Powell, still trying diplomatic solutions, broadcast a desperate message of peace across all channels. We wish to establish communication and find a peaceful resolution. Humanity offers friendship and cooperation. The Harveri response came quickly. Your species had its warning. Resistance is noted. Harvest commences. Outside Grant's facility, angry crowds gathered as news of his betrayal spread. Jack Rivera had made sure the evidence reached every news outlet still broadcasting. People pounded on the building's gates, demanding justice. Inside, Grant watched the crowds on security monitors. They don't understand, he told his assembled scientists and engineers. This is the only way any humans will survive. Sometimes difficult choices must be made. One of the scientists stood up. You didn't choose for all of us. You chose for yourself. Grant's security team stepped forward menacingly. Anyone who doesn't wish to stay can leave now. The doors remain open for another hour. No one moved. Outside was certain death. Inside was survival, even if it meant living with betrayal. Elaine Morgan watched the Harveri ships approaching Earth from her lab window. The warnings had been so clear, yet human arrogance had brought them to this moment. Now the largest fleet of alien vessels ever seen surrounded their planet. They're taking up attack positions, Richard said quietly, looking at their tracking data. Humanity's last defensive line prepared for battle as the harvest of Earth began. The first Harveri ships entered Earth's atmosphere 3 days after the space battle. They appeared over major cities, their massive hulls blocking out the sun. Smaller craft dropped from them like rain, landing in strategic locations. Earth's remaining military forces moved into position. Tanks rolled through streets, fighter jets patrolled the skies, and soldiers prepared for ground combat. Admiral Miller coordinated from a hidden underground command center. We hit them with everything we have, he told his commanders. Every weapon, every soldier. This is humanity's last stand. Lieutenant Kate Donovan had barely survived the space battle. Her damaged fighter crashed in a field outside the Global Space Agency. Rescue teams brought her to the facility where Dr. Elaine Morgan and her team were working frantically. Good to see you alive, Lieutenant, Elaine said, helping Kate to a chair. We need every skilled person we can get. Kate looked around at the busy lab. What are you working on? The final set of warning messages, Richard explained. We think they contain information about Harveri weaknesses. Kate joined their efforts, her practical military experience helping them understand certain technical terms in the alien communications. As they worked, the sounds of battle grew closer. Occasionally, the building shook from nearby explosions. Here, Jack exclaimed suddenly. This section describes previous civilizations that fought back. They gathered around his screen. The decoded message explained how several species had found limited success using electromagnetic pulse weapons against the Harveri. Their neural network is vulnerable to certain EM frequencies, Elaine translated. It disrupts their communication and coordination. Kate immediately contacted Admiral Miller. Sir, we have potential weapons data. The Harveri may be vulnerable to targeted EMP attacks. Miller's voice crackled over the damaged communication system. Send everything you have. We'll reconfigure our remaining EMP weapons immediately. As Elaine's team transmitted the data, Jack Rivera broadcast a different kind of message to the world. Using emergency channels still functioning, he sent out evidence of Peter Grant's betrayal, the recorded conversations with the Harveri, plans for his private bunker, everything. The public deserves to know the truth, Jack said as he worked. Even if it's our last day on Earth. The broadcast reached millions. Among those watching was Peter Grant himself, who had been trying to reach his underground bunker. His security convoy was stuck in traffic as people fled the city. When nearby civilians recognized him from the broadcast, they surrounded his vehicles. That's him, someone shouted. The one who sold us out. The angry crowd grew larger. Grant's security guards drew their weapons, but they were vastly outnumbered. Grant himself cowered in his car, finally facing the consequences of his actions. Across the globe, the HFY began systematic attacks on major cities. Their weapons easily cut through buildings, bridges, and human defenses. Military bases were the first targets, followed by power plants and communication centers. Admiral Miller coordinated a desperate counterattack using the new information. Modified EMP weapons were deployed against the alien ships, and for the first time, humans saw real results. Several smaller HFY vessels crashed after being hit by the pulses. "It's working," Kate exclaimed as reports came in. But the victory was small compared to the overall invasion. For every alien ship disabled, 10 more took its place. The HFY adapted quickly, shielding their systems against the human weapons. Elaine looked out the window at the burning city. "We hurt them, but it's not enough." "We need something bigger," Kate said, a new determination in her voice, a way to hit their command ship all at once. Richard nodded slowly. "If we could deploy a specialized EMP directly to their main vessel." "A virus," Jack suggested. "Not biological, but digital. Something that could spread through their entire network." As night fell over the battle-torn planet, Elaine and her team began working on their last, desperate plan to save what remained of humanity. 2 days into the invasion, half of Earth's major cities lay in ruins. The HFY moved methodically across the planet, destroying military targets and collecting technology, resources, and human specimens. In some areas, they set up processing centers where they sorted through captured data and materials. Elaine, Kate, Jack, and Alan worked without sleep to finish their digital virus. Their lab was one of the few buildings still with power, hidden beneath several levels of the research facility. "It's done," Alan said, his eyes red from exhaustion. "The virus will target their neural network and create a cascading failure. But we still need to deliver it to their command ship," Kate pointed out. "And that's in high orbit, heavily guarded." Admiral Miller connected through a spotty video link. His face was dirty, with a fresh cut above his eye. "We're gathering what's left of our aircraft. If you can get to the Eastern Launch Facility, we might be able to get you up there." "We'll be ready," Elaine promised. As they prepared to leave, Susan Powell contacted them from a hidden diplomatic bunker. "I've made contact with something unexpected," she said, her voice filled with wonder. 3 different alien species responding to our distress signals." "More aliens?" Jack asked warily. "Friendly ones. They say they've been watching Earth. They heeded the same warnings we ignored and went into hiding years ago." These hidden civilizations explained they couldn't directly fight the HFY without risking their own extinction, but they offered sanctuary for a small number of humans who might escape. "They can shelter around 10,000 people," Susan explained. "Out of billions," Richard whispered. The weight of this reality settled over them. Even if their plan succeeded, Earth itself was already lost. The journey to the launch facility was dangerous. They traveled through sewers and underground tunnels to avoid HFY patrols. Above them, alien ships continued their systematic destruction. When they finally reached the facility, a small team of pilots and engineers waited with a modified shuttle. "This is our last functional spacecraft," the lead engineer explained. "We've added the strongest EMP shielding we could build and extra fuel cells." Kate took the pilot's seat with Alan beside her to handle the technical aspects. Elaine and Jack would deploy the virus once they reached the command ship. The small craft launched under cover of darkness, using the debris of previous battles as camouflage. As they approached the massive HFY command vessel, Kate used every piloting skill. She had to avoid detection. Their plan relied on reaching a specific access point where Alan had detected a vulnerability in the ship's defense system. "We're going to have one chance," Kate said as they maneuvered closer. "Once we connect to their system, they'll know we're here." The shuttle docked against the alien ship, magnetic clamps securing them to the hull. Alan connected their systems to the HFY network and uploaded the virus. "It's working," he reported as code flowed across his screen. "Their defenses are failing." For a moment, it seemed victory was possible. Then alarms blared as the alien ship detected them. "We've been compromised," Kate shouted. "We need to leave now." But it was too late. Energy weapons targeted their shuttle, tearing through their shields. "The virus is still uploading," Alan insisted as systems failed around them. "We need 30 more seconds." They never got them. The shuttle exploded, but not before the virus entered the Harvari command network. Throughout the alien fleet, systems began to fail as the virus spread. On Earth, Susan Powell coordinated the final evacuation. Thousands of selected humans, scientists, artists, children, boarded the rescue ships provided by their alien allies. As they lifted off from the doomed planet, the vessels carried Earth's most precious cargo: its knowledge, its cultures, its hope. Among the departing ships was a small data core containing humanity's complete history, including records of the ignored warnings and Peter Grant's betrayal. The final message encoded in this archive was simple. The warnings were clear, but arrogance marched us to extinction. May those who follow learn what we could not. As the rescue ships vanished into deep space, Earth burned behind them, a stark reminder of what happens when warnings go unheeded.